Right guys, welcome to another video from myself at Brentford Academy. So today we're going to be doing, as you can see from the title of the video, transfers that could save your team from relegation. So let's get right into it, and I'm going to pick one player for each team. So let's start off with the playoff champions, which was Luton Town. So as you can see from the sort of graphic I've given you, centre back, centre mid experience, they're sort of things I was looking at. But I think ultimately they need to really be looking at some decent Premier League experience, probably in the midfield. So I'm thinking potentially a Stuart Armstrong from Southampton, or potentially even like a Will Hughes or someone like that from Crystal Palace, just to really bring that experience, but also still a sort of combative Premier League level. Stuart Armstrong potentially maybe will bring more goals. I know he's always played in the middle, but he could definitely do that job in a three-man midfield. And if not, you've got someone like Will Hughes who'll maybe stabilise a bit more, won't score as many goals, but he'll always be consistent and bring solid performances for you. So I think I'd go for Will Hughes. I think they'll probably be able to get him for a decent fee. It might even be free. I haven't checked if his contract's up. But yeah, let's go for him for Luton. If we move on to Sheffield United, who were second in the Championship. Again, I was looking at sort of centre back, striker, full back for these guys. Not gonna lie, a lot of their team were the team that sort of relegated a couple of seasons ago, which obviously means not too happy about that and definitely not confident for them. But the player that I think they should potentially go for is a striker, purely because don't have any confidence in any of their forwards, and scoring a maximum of 13 goals in the Championship doesn't give me any confidence. So the player that I've gone with is Chuba Akpom. Bit obvious, I know he's Championship's top scorer last season, but let's be honest, he'll score a lot more goals than anyone they have at the moment, and they're going to need goals because otherwise they are going straight back down. I know they have Ndai, I don't know how you say it, but that's not going to be enough. So let's hope they can add to that, otherwise they're definitely going to go down again. Moving on to Burnley, someone maybe a bit more confident about just because of how many points they got. Again, looking at their team, you sort of potentially be a bit wary of them whether they can stay up, but I think the main transfer they're going to want to focus on is re-signing Maatsen as a left back, because I don't have any faith in their backup choices in that area, and Chelsea aren't going to need him next season, so they might as well loan him out again, and that'll be perfect for them. Obviously they did spread the goals out quite a lot this season, so I think potentially that could be another area they'd want to look at. Maybe even they would go for Akpom, or potentially some of the Leicester strikers who they might want to get rid of, like Daka or Nacho. But yeah, I think Burnley should just focus on getting Maatsen back in as a main priority, because they're going to need him for this upcoming season if they want to stay up. Moving on to the next team, we're going to start with teams that were in the Premier League. We can go two teams that were in the Premier League last season. Everton, perennial strugglers, terrible last season, terrible the season before, and that's because they cannot score. They can't seem to buy anyone who knows how to score. So again, we're going to be looking at striker. A bit boring, but that is where they really need to look at, because they just don't score, and Daesh really needs a big striker to come in and save him. I mean, looking at the Championship, and as there's not maybe many strikers in the Premier they can get for a decent fee, as they do struggle financially, I think Gyökeres from Coventry would be perfect. He's big, gets a lot of assists, gets a lot of goals, and I think he could make Everton a lot better as a team. And I don't know how much he cost, but probably not as much as one of the big fees they pay for some other European striker who might be terrible. So that's who I'd go for Everton anyway. Moving on to Bournemouth, finally a team that doesn't desperately need a striker, because Dom Solanke was great last season. They really needed a DM. Jefferson Lerma's leaving, and I think they probably needed a DM anyway, because he wasn't too great. And this is a really rogue shout, but I'm going to suggest they go for Vinicius Souza from Espanyol. Probably not heard of him. Don't worry, I hadn't before either. But looking at his stats, we're going to ignore passing, which I know for midfielder is bad, but he's in the top 2% for tackles and interceptions for midfielders this season, or the season just gone, and also in the top 10 for clearances and aerial duels won. And I think for someone like Bournemouth, who play a lot on the counter, they're going to be wanting to win the ball a lot and just give it to these better players. And if he can do that level of tackles and interceptions, that would be perfect for Bournemouth in their counter-attacking style of play, and that would definitely help keep them up next season. So it's a rogue, but let's go for it. And finally, moving on to Forest, just because I do have the most faith in their squad, just because of how many good players they have. and they did gel quite well towards the end of the season. But both their starting and backup keeper, Henderson and Navas, obviously are both not currently going to be contracted to them on July 1st. So what we will need to do for them is sort out the goalkeeper position. I personally think they should just go and try and get Henderson again, because United clearly don't want him. So why not just offer a bit of money and try and see what they say? If not, a potential interesting one could be seeing how much Arsenal take from Matt Turner, because he hasn't really played much for Arsenal, and he seemed quite decent when he played, and he's a USA international, so maybe they could get a decent keeper there from Arsenal. But I think go back for Henderson for Forest. My early predictions, who's going to go down, won't go into too much detail, but I'll be honest, I think Sheffield United and Luton will definitely go down, and I think Burnley might just squeak past and send Everton down, because I just don't have much faith in Everton getting that much better. I feel like it's going to be their time. But anyway, thanks for listening, guys, and hope you enjoyed the video.